All right, I got some food over here, so let's not let the food get cold and let's see how long I can coherently talk about the streaming wars. You got your Hulu's, your Disney Plus, your Netflix, your Peacock, your Apple TV Plus, your Max. What else is there? I think I got most of the major ones there. And how the streaming wars is, I don't know, it's just a stupid fight. The way that it works is so dumb to me, like the business model of it. Oh, so first of all, now you have a bunch of subscriptions, and now the whole argument of like, oh, it's less than cable is totally out of the window. Because cable, I don't know how much cable costs today. I don't even know. I'm actually going to look it up. How much does Xfinity cable cost? Because I only pay for internet, and I pay 65 a month for internet. All right, so navigating Xfinity's website is the worst thing in the world. It's absolutely awful. No wonder they get rated number one most hated company all the time. But yeah, they're already starting to do the thing of like bundling the streaming services together. It looks like it's so hard to tell how this actually works. You can get all of these together for 15 a month if you have Xfinity Internet and you add the Stream Saver thing, then you can get all the subscription services for cheaper. I'm sure that this is like limited, whatever the stream server. Oh, and you can also get the thing and some extra live chat. So yeah, they're trying to transition from you're gonna use cable for everything to you're gonna be using your internet streaming for everything. Add what is X1? Okay, because I already you don't let me pay for your stuff. Why? How are you so dumb? Okay, sorry, I couldn't find out how much cable costs because their website sucks. They can't even get me to pay for stuff. Okay. These streaming services, the cost doesn't justify it anymore because you have to go to different platforms in order to go to the different things instead of it just all being in one location. So it's a less good experience just on that front. So, when you paid for cable, you got pretty much every channel, no matter which cable service you were going for. And they had to compete on monopolizing geographic locations. That's basically how the cable companies were competing. And how these streaming services are competing is they're competing on content. It's like, okay, I have exclusivity rights to Friends, so you have to go to Peacock in order to watch Friends now. Or I have exclusivity rights on all the Netflix originals, so you have to go to Netflix to watch those. Disney has all of the Disney stuff, so you got to go to Disney Plus in order to watch all the Disney stuff, and probably most of like the family-friendly stuff. Hulu's got like whatever show just showed up on cable, they've got that show showing up on Hulu like a day later, or on the same day at this point. I remember seeing commercials on cable that were like, this show is available both on this channel. It was like FXX I was watching, whereas like Archer or something, and they're like, Archer is also available on Hulu at the same time. So they know that the audiences are split that way, where it's like the boomers are still watching cable, and whoever, like, for whatever reason is still paying for cable. Maybe it's like sports reasons. That's probably the main reason now that anyone my age would pay for cable. But even then, they should pay for like the sports pack streaming services like Redbox or something along those lines. I don't know much about these services. I don't personally use them. But anyway, they compete on content. And that means that whenever you've seen these different players, like if you use it used to be called CBS All Access, and then you changed it to Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus's player is absolutely god awful. Like at a certain point, it seems like it has like memory leak issues, so it just crashes on your TV. And these smart TVs don't have that good of processors. So if they make these bad players, then it's just like a shitty experience. Nobody wants to deal with that. So, but that's the only place you can watch Star Trek. That's the only place you can watch freaking SpongeBob or Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know it's on Netflix too, but there's some other like Viacom iCarly. I don't know. Whatever the fuck that Viacom makes that you want to watch, you got to pay for Paramount Plus in order to see it legally, let's say. But yeah, so they're competing on content, and it would be way better if they could compete on service and not on content, because that'd be better for the consumer. So I always think about the comparison between how streaming works for all of these TV streaming services versus for the music streaming industry. When you think about music streaming, I can pay for YouTube Music, I can pay for Amazon Prime Music, I can pay for I forget what the other random things are. I know Spotify's the big one, but I was trying to think of like a random one. Apple Music. And I can pay for any of those services. And for the most part, Tidal. And for the most part, there isn't exclusivity rights that you have where it's like, okay, this musician you can only find on this platform. Or when it comes to like most mainstream musicians, even the independent artists, they're mostly gonna all be on the same platforms. So you're not competing on, oh, who has the better catalog of music, because they all have basically the same catalog of music. There are some niche areas where we can get into like how the catalog is a bit different, like, you know, if you have a SoundCloud artist or something like that. But you know, most people aren't like that. Most people are listening to stuff that's big enough that it would be on every platform. I'm sorry, niche random person that wants to listen to like, I don't know, math rock or something like that. You're but anyway, for that experience, now they're not competing on content, so they're competing on the user experience. So the reason why I think that Spotify does the best in this domain for the music streaming is because not only did they have first movers advantage probably when it came to like making streaming music a concept in the first place, and this convenience of doing music streaming over purchasing your music and all the other like things you had to do when you were trying to download or pirate music. It's just super convenient. But they made music listening, their platform, Spotify, into akin to a social media. Like you can friend and it's either friend or following people. I forget how it works because I don't use Spotify. I use YouTube Music. But you can friend people on your Spotify account. And when you're looking at your Spotify account, you can literally see the song that your friend's listening to at that moment. And then if you go to your friend's account, within your account, you can make certain playlists that you have public to the rest of your friends. And then you can be like, oh, we can share the songs that we listen to through all of that. I can find out what my friends listen to and be on the same track as the things that my friends are listening to. And then the thing that they did that was brilliant recently was adding the like party playlist sort of thing, where you can like start a playlist and people can just queue up as long as they have a Spotify account to the same playlist. And that's brilliant, like, because music has always been like this social experience that people get together, they put on some songs, and then you want other people to add to the queue. So, you know, if you allow everyone to do that, that's perfect. And Spotify also has Spotify Wrapped, where it's like, oh, look, in this past year, you listen to these things. Here's your stats on the music, all that stuff. So it makes the experience the best experience when it comes to listening to music. So you choose to Jesus Christ, too much water or too much spit. But anyway, you choose to go on Spotify because it's the best experience. Whereas these streaming services, you're not choosing based on experience. For the Netflix, Hulu, well, Netflix and Hulu are definitely by far the best experience, but you're choosing because that's the only place you can go to. So imagine if the streaming services, instead of paying for exclusive licensing rights, you could pay a flat rate for a licensing price and everybody can get the same license. So then, you know, the license holder is happy because they get paid by a bunch of different streaming services for their license. And then all of those streaming services now have to compete on experience. So then you can start having way more interesting stuff in terms of how the platforms are run. Because the platform right now, Netflix is the biggest platform. And Netflix, the way that it invests in this platform is creating more content. They're like, okay, how do we keep pumping out the best content, the most watchable content, so that we can keep the eyeballs on for as long as possible? That's their business model. But their business model doesn't have to be driving you towards more and more content. It could be use your established catalog and get creative with how you're using your established catalog. Like I've talked about this concept of custom playlists in Netflix, or they don't even have to make custom playlists per se. They could also be curated playlists, but just having the notion of, okay, I watched an episode of Friends, maybe I want to watch another sitcom, so let's put an episode of Community right after an episode of Friends, or let's put an episode of How I Met Your Mother right. I don't know where the streaming services rights are right now, so I don't actually know whether How I Met Your Mother is on Netflix anymore or not, or whether it's on some other platform. But anyway, you just get an aggregated playlist of, oh, all the sitcoms that everybody watches and put that all into one thing. And then you take the best of episodes in those things and then you watch through that playlist. That would keep me on the platform so much longer, because right now the issue is that people will be like, oh, but it can choose a random show for you. No, but it chooses you a show and it traps you into that show, and you can only watch the show chronologically. You can't, you have to know specifically what the episode's called and choose it yourself. Like, there's so much friction in just that. Like, we have the meme of going to Netflix and spending most of your time scrolling through Netflix because you can't figure out what the fuck to watch. So you can curate that better, or you can allow the users to curate it and then have those playlists be public so then people can watch through the playlist. Then that takes so much decision fatigue out of your life. And that has nothing to do with adding more content. That just has to do with using your current pool of content and making it more creative in the way that I can access that content. Like, freaking, I've always talked about the shuffle button, where it's like, okay, why can I not just go to a show and just click the shuffle button and it chooses a random episode from that show? Why does it always start from, oh, this was the latest episode you watched, so you're gonna obviously watch the episode after that? No, it's a fucking sitcom. It could be whatever episode and it doesn't matter. So, you know, that's my rant on the streaming service debacle when it comes to like these TV streaming services. They're competing on content, meaning they're not competing on experience, meaning that they offer a shitty experience because there's no incentive to offer a better experience, because where else are you going to go? Now, obviously, there's the argument of like people are going to start pirating and then that'll be a whole issue. And the issue is that I don't think that the modern consumer pirates as much as we'd like them to. Like, it seems like as these internet platforms became more and more mainstream, the way that most people access any of their content is always filtered by a platform. So you're either watching your stuff through YouTube, you're watching through Instagram, you're watching through Twitter, you're watching, like, whatever your platform of choice is, that's the way you interact with the internet through. Going on, like, using your browser as the actual browser, where it's like, go to this URL, go to this URL, go to this URL. I don't think that many people do that anymore. And then when it comes to like actually finding the piracy services, it's not even as easy as it used to be. Like, if you go to Google and you try to look at them, you're not gonna find them that easily. So it's more difficult to pirate now, and the consumer doesn't really have the impulse to pirate as much anymore, because I think that the like cultural habits around it have changed a lot. Where people just don't do that anymore, or don't even have the skill set to know how to do it anymore. So there's enough friction that I think that the services can bottom out in terms of how bad they get, without leaking too many people to stuff like piracy. In fact, they probably wouldn't leak people through piracy. They'd leak people through their services so shit that people just stop paying for them. Like, it's more likely that would happen than people pirate the stuff, I think, at this point, because of how consumer behavior works. And I'm talking about average consumer. I'm not an average consumer. I only pay for two subscription services: Audible and YouTube Premium. Those are the only two things, because I use YouTube every day. And all the streaming services, I'm like, I don't want to pay for that. Why would I, like, it's too much money. Like, why would I want my subscriptions to add up to like $100 a month? That's terrible. Especially if I'm not even going to use them that often. I use YouTube every day, so of course I'm going to pay for that. Anyway, you all have a lovely day. That was my rant. And there's probably a more succinct way I could explain it. I could probably write a whole essay explaining that whole model, where the business model just doesn't really make sense to me. But admittedly, these are multi-billion-dollar companies, so maybe they know something that I don't in terms of their model. So anyway, like if you like, dislike if you dislike, leave a comment letting me know why you like or dislike, and I will see you all later. I'm gonna have to find out the price of cable so that I can add that in post. So let me go do that. Bye.